Hello everyone! Welcome on the Esoteric Software stream. My name is Erika, and in today's video I will give you a little introduction and an overview to how skins work inside Spine. We'll go from simple basics, and I'll try to show you around what is possible to do with skins inside the Esoteric Software Spine editor. So today I'll be shuffling through mainly the example projects that we already have in Spine. I will show you some tips how to create skins from scratch, how to add new skins to a project, how to add your own variations, and some other things that we can do with skins. So we will be starting with the example project that is called Power Up. Why am I choosing this one? Because it has no skins and it is reasonable enough to create a new skin from scratch. In case you want to follow along, any version of Spine is fine really, or the trial version. To open this same project that I'm having here, what you'll need is to click on the little envelope logo here, go to the examples tab, then you can see that you can scroll down to the very last project, which is the Power Up one. And we're gonna be opening this first. You can choose Pro or Essential version, either are fine. The Pro one has the meshes in it, the Essential version is made without them. I'll be using the Pro version, but you can follow along also with the other one. We want to add skins. We can tell that this project does not have skins because under the skins node there is no skin. This skins node cannot be expanded, which tells us that there is no skin. There are, however, other nodes that we can expand, such as the draw order and the root. Okay, so we have a set of images already in this project, and this is one of those things that I always teach in basic workshops when I teach people how to use Spine. We're gonna be adding a skin first by adding the current images to a skin, and then we will be creating a variation, a darker variation of this skin, so that we can have two alternative versions. So how do we create a skin from scratch? Skins are mainly composed of two main parts. First, we have to declare a skin under the skins node. We have to tell Spine that the skin exists, and we have to create a new skin. Just creating the skin, however, isn't enough. We also have to populate it. And to populate it, what we're gonna be doing is creating something that replaces the images in our file, so that if we want, we can have them or not have them, because we want to be able to reuse the same bones and animations that are already present in this file, but with a different set of images, which in this case is just gonna be a recolor, but we could have totally different sets of images. So this is like the simplest example that we can have. Okay, so we said we need to first create a skin, so I'll select the skin node and choose new skin. We'll call the skin the light version because I'm gonna tint the other one in a darker version. So light it is. And we have our first skin. As you see, turning it on and off does nothing, unfortunately. And we need to do the second step to be able to use this skin and populate it, which is to add a skin placeholder, which will take the place of the current assets that we have so that we can replace it with whatever we want. So I'll select first one image to demonstrate how to add one. We'll choose new, then skin placeholder. And we can just click OK because the name is fine. We have now a skin placeholder. Let's see the difference now. When we turn the skin on and off, now that image, and only that image that we added to the skin, also does not get displayed when the skin is turned off. Is it gone? No, it's still there. It's just that it's gonna be only calculated at runtime when that skin is active, and it's only gonna be visible when the skin is active. What about the other images that are not in a skin? Those images are gonna be active at all times. They are actually in the back end of things. They are automatically added to a skin named default. So if I were to try to add a new skin called default, you'd see that the default name is reserved and we need to choose a different name. That is because under the hood, every image is actually inside a skin. It's just that we don't know. But I digress, that is not important. What is important is that when an image is not inside a skin placeholder, it's gonna be visible at all times. So we have seen how to add one first image to a skin. What about if we want to add every image to a skin? Like for example, at some point you made your character and you're happy with your character, but you want everything else to be in a skin. Well, that's gonna be very simple. let's undo the creation of that skin placeholder, and instead we're gonna be using a filter on attachments. This way we can see all the attachments inside the project and we can just select them all. I'm gonna be using Shift to select from the bottom to the top, or vice versa. I've selected all of the attachments, which can be image attachments or mesh attachments, it does not matter. And I'm gonna be choosing new skin placeholder. I cannot do this. Why? Because I left the skin off. So make sure that the skin you want to add them to is active, otherwise that's not gonna be possible. Okay, I'll reselect them again, choose new skin placeholder, and voila! Now everything is in a skin. So when I turn it on or off, they disappear. Okay, so let's try it out. No images, images. Fantastic! Now let's actually add a variation of the skin by duplicating the current skin, and we're gonna make a tinted version that is gonna be the darker version of the skin. Okay, so let's select the current skin while we are in setup mode, and we're gonna be duplicating it by pressing on the duplicate button. Okay, and now a panel opens. Everyone is very quick to click this, so usually they miss it completely, but there are several interesting options that we have when we duplicate a skin that can make our job easier. For example, we can automatically create linked meshes, which are basically meshes that share the same information across the source mesh and linked mesh. So when you modify one, the other is also changed. We can duplicate the keys. That is only if you deform directly your meshes, and then there's the option to rename attachments. I'm going to be showing you these afterwards, but keep it in mind because this option allows you to basically replace all the images that are in a certain folder, and usually these folders, if you created them with, for example, the Photoshop to Spine script, they are gonna be having the name of the skin. So if you switch to a different folder, it will be named after the new skin. So if you call these with the name of the new skin, it's gonna be automatically renamed. I'm gonna be showing you this afterwards, however. Okay, for now, I can leave these on. Usually I turn them off and then show how this works, but this time I can just leave it on and click OK. Instead of calling it light 2, I actually wanted to call these dark. Alright, we're gonna be creating the variation itself. It's gonna be super simple. We just select first the token, and we can tint the attachment itself by selecting here color. Okay, let me just verify something. Okay, yeah. And you can see that I can tint the attachment itself, and in the dark version, it's gonna be a different color, and in the light version, it's gonna stay the same, because we actually have 2 copies of these. Okay, so I reactivate the dark version, and I'll also tint the wings. I just have to select the 2 images attachments that I can find here in the tree, and then choose color, and any new color that I want. Like, for example, okay, something like this. And voila! Now, in a matter of seconds, we created a version that is a light version of our power-up, and a version that features a darker version of the power-up. The same way, you can create variations for your game where you tint your attachments. Now, keep this in mind because we're gonna be reusing it inside our other project that I've been painting these days to create the variations directly inside Spine. The nice thing is that if you leave these in a light version, undisturbed version like this, you can also just tint the attachments or leave this option for your users at runtime to be able to customize your characters however you prefer. I was mentioning the fact that we have linked meshes and they were automatically created in this case. Now let's say that I make a change on this version of the wing. Okay, in one case I'll unlink the mesh so you see the difference. I have to go to unlink a mesh, I have to switch to the child mesh, to the linked mesh itself, and then click to unlink it. Okay, so now we have a version of the mesh that is linked and a version that isn't. If I make a change to this mesh and a change to this mesh, when I go back to my light version, we're gonna see that this mesh stayed the same because it's not linked with the other one. However, this one, which is a linked mesh, changed together with the other dark version of the mesh, creating this distorted version of it. In cases where you want your meshes to behave differently than the source mesh, you'd want to unlink them. In the other cases where you want them to move exactly the same way, and when a change is done on the original or one of the copies, you want the change to propagate also to the other meshes, so you don't have to do the same work over and over, and you can just refine it in a second moment or improve your meshes, linked meshes are a great way to do the job. The limitation that they have are the fact that we want linked meshes to always stay within the same slot. So a linked mesh needs, for it to work, to be inside the same slot. If I try to move it out like this, okay, it moves both meshes. They are now inside the different slot. They move together. You cannot separate them, as you see. I'm gonna show you what we can do for another process, which is the process of adding skins to a project that already has skins, and precisely recolors. So for this, let's open a different project. That project is going to be the chibi stickers. So let's open that one. Remember, click on the little envelope up here, go to the examples tab, open chibi stickers, and in this case we only have the pro version, so we can open that. And we'll be adding a new skin to a skin that I already have here. So in case you want to create your own variation of these, you'll be able to do that. Now for these, I actually already prepared an alternative version of this character here, which is my character, because I wanted to have a blue version of it. Now I'll move it into the right folder so I can share it with you. I'll copy my Erika blue, and I'll place it inside the images folder so that I have my Erika blue. You should see something similar. If you successfully did it, you should see that inside the images path, another version of Erika should appear. Okay, I opened the project from my examples folder, but I made a copy and pasted it there. So now I have to make sure that I open the right version of this project. Here, fantastic. And now it's the one that I got from the Dropbox. So on Dropbox, I pasted it there. So if you download it and open it now, you should see that there's an Erika blue version. Oh, Fabiano is asking. So in that Save Project panel, is the first folder of the list always the one where the current project is located to? I would say yes. So I press Ctrl-Shift-S for this and pretend to save. Then I go in folders, and yeah, that's where the project is located. So I copy that path, paste it inside Windows, and then I just use it. Okay, so now I have these. Let me activate the skin of these. Okay, where it's red. And what I'm gonna be doing to create the recolor is I'm gonna be selecting the skin Erika, then I'm gonna be duplicating that, and this time I'm gonna check rename attachments and rename it to Erika but blue. There we go. Once I click OK, if I made sure to check rename attachments, I'm gonna automatically get a version of my little chibi that is gonna be dressed in blue because I recolored it previously inside Photoshop. I click OK. Voila! Do I have to do any changes? No, it just works because this was a perfect recolor. Isn't it awesome? What it took was like one click and to make sure that all the images were present in there and under the right path. So for this to work, it is super important that the recolor that you made is exactly following the same naming convention. Here I have the assets in the red version. Okay, the important thing is that each of these assets exactly has the same height and width and name of the original version. So this is my original version, and I'm gonna open the blue version. And as you see, they are identical. I only recolored some parts to get this effect. The rest is exactly the same. For the next trick that I wanted to show you, there's the fact that in case we want to have each character have a variation of a hat. Okay, so for this variation here, I'm gonna be adding a version of a headdress that I did in white and in black, so that you can see how I can add it automatically, and it will be automatically added for each skin. Okay, that's the one that I'm grabbing. I'm gonna paste these inside Erika. Okay, I'm gonna add something that is not gonna be super useful, but it's just to demonstrate that you could have these inside every skin. Okay, so I'm gonna paste a headdress in here. Then I'm gonna paste it also in the blue version, and then just as an example, I'm gonna steal, oh, I have this dark version instead. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna give it to maybe Misaki. What did I just do? I pasted some images that you should be finding also on Dropbox directly inside that images folder there. So what are those for? It's because in case I want to at some point to add to, for example, this skin, a new image, okay, that I had, which was the headdress one. I can tell easily that I did not use this because it's the only image that is orange, whereas the others are green. Okay, and I'll bring it in. Awesome, but it has to be rotated. Okay, now let's pretend that I'm gonna be adding this on top of my hat. And I want to have this actually in every skin and not just here. Right now, this image, it's gonna be visible for every skin. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be adding it to every skin under a skin placeholder, and then I'm gonna remove the skins where I don't want it. It's gonna work like this. I select the image attachment, I choose new skin placeholder, and this time, see, in the dialog, there's the option to duplicate the attachment for each skin. I'm gonna check that, and if you just do that, now every skin, okay, it's gonna have its own copy. So if I move this here, and then I move this here, oh, so cute, and then I move this here, okay, it's gonna be in a different position for every skin. But let's say that I have a different image for each skin instead, and I want it to be different. Then I'll redo the process again. This time, I'm gonna be selecting, so second version, I'm gonna be selecting the image, choosing new, skin placeholder, duplicate attachment for each skin, and then I'm gonna choose to rename the attachments. I'll click OK. Now, you're gonna see that it created this image, which is called Erika but blue headdress in this skin. Then, oh, that was inside Erika. Oh, I got it from the wrong place. So, it is the same also in Erika but blue because it searched and found it. Inside the Misaki one, it's gonna be the darker version because I pasted a copy there that was a different color, and Spine automatically fetched it for me, which is amazing. You have no idea how much time I saved on real cases when I used this method, when every character suddenly needed to have a hat or stuff like that. Actually, it was for a dress-up game, but you see, it works. It can work this way, and you can add like tons of customization options to your characters thanks to these shortcuts. And for the skins that don't have that, what do? Okay, so we see that it is not visible, but actually it's because the image is missing. So what I recommend doing when this happens, because normally you should be seeing a missing image warning. Okay, you're gonna be seeing this. Now I'm gonna be showing you another thing that I love when I'm working with skins, which is inside the tree up here, there's the options. There's a bunch of options actually. And what happens is that we can choose to show all skins attachments. Now these, I renamed informally the Soren's all-seeing eye because it allows me to see in every skin at the same time. Okay, so now you see that the structure under the tree changed. It now allows me to see under the skin placeholder everything that is contained inside that skin placeholder, and in every skin placeholder really. So we can tell easily, for example, under the skirt here, which which skins have a skirt. The Erika one, which if I click on, I can just activate. The Erika but blue, and then Misaki also has this very cute skirt. Okay, now let's go back instead to this headdress situation. If we expand this by right-clicking, okay, which is equivalent to pressing this button here, we can see which skins have an attachment in it and which skins don't. What we could do could be to just, okay, manually select the ones that don't have it and delete them. Or we can go to find and replace, and then we can find the missing images and just select them and then delete them in one go, like this. So we only have the images that were actually present inside the other folders, and the rest are just deleted because they are not necessary. So you're welcome. I hope that you'll be able to use this. I sure use these a lot to clean up my projects. And if, for example, at some point we want this address to be in another skin, that's what I would do to add it to a different skin. Okay, let's go, for example, I want it to be added to Nate. Yeah, Nate is gonna be so happy about me adding this to him. And I'm gonna be selecting this address. I can duplicate it and then adding it like this. So now Nate has it too. What if instead we're using a linked mesh for some reason? So we see the process of creating a linked mesh from scratch. Okay, maybe we use this as the source mesh, or maybe the address one. Okay, maybe this is the source mesh. I select this image and I decide to turn it into a mesh. Maybe because I want it to be 3D-ish, do, you know, the stuff that I usually do. So for the sake of it, I'll just generate a couple of vertices here. Now I want this to become a linked mesh. To create a linked mesh, new linked mesh, and that creates a copy outside of the skin placeholder, so it's easier to move it to a different skin because it's already prepared for that. Then I'm gonna switch by activating to the skin that I wanted to receive it, because it's not there until I activate it. Okay, now it appears here. Select this linked mesh, so the copy, and release it on the skin placeholder. Voila! Now it's populated. And when I move and distort these, it also affects the original. Same here, so if I do this, voila, they both inherit the same changes. So I'm sure that you have heard of skin bones and skin constraints. So for these, I'll be showing you quickly how to create your own skin bones and skin constraints. So we have a complete overview of how skins can work. In the common parts, I actually have some images that I could use for these. Let's actually switch to a different skin. We tortured Nate enough. Let's go to Sinisha. Sinisha, here he is. And I'm gonna be taking an image from the common ones. Lamp. Let's say that one of our skins has a lamp on the head. Sinisha is constantly having an idea. Okay, right now, because I just added this image, it is available at all times. I want only Sinisha to have genius dots, so I'm gonna be adding it. First, I'm gonna be reparenting this image so it follows, let's see, maybe this one here, the hair in the front. Skin bones are no different than normal bones. We create them in setup, selecting the create tool. We, as always, need to first select the bone that we want to be the parent. Then I'll hold Ctrl Command on Mac to select the image that I want to be parented to the bone that I'm creating. I'll just click to create now my bone, my common lamp. Perfect, already named. Okay, got automatically added to a skin. That is very smart. So let's pretend that I didn't do it here, but I did it under the root just to demonstrate how to create. So as you see, Spine is too efficient. It didn't even let me show you how to add a bone to a skin. It automatically did it for me because the parent bone is a bone that is in a skin. Now let's pretend that instead I created here. And I'm going to create a new bone. Okay, here. Oh, and now we have a standard bone. This bone is not in a skin. How could I tell that this bone was in a skin or not? Because when a bone is in a skin, it has this little skin icon next to it. Okay, it's the same thing here. So how do we add a bone to a skin? We select the bone in question. You can also select multiple bones at once. And then choose, in the properties of the bone, add to skin. Voila, now it's been added to the skin. Okay, so now let's parent it here. And now we have this bone inside the Sinisha skin. Perfect. So when we switch to a different skin, the lamp is not present. But is this the correct way of doing it? Notice something. This lamp is not inside a skin placeholder, but because the bone is in a skin, the lamp is not drawn. That's actually gonna be an ugly surprise if you set things this way inside your project, because there are gonna be things that will protest if you don't add them to a skin but you add the parents to the skin. In fact, if I were to do this and I created a new bone but I don't want this bone to be inside this skin, what happens is that I get a warning icon because the bone expects to be able to be visible at all times, but the parent is not present. And we can say that the same sort of logic applies also in this case. case. It is good practice to always add your images to skin placeholders, okay, to have it correctly set, because this way, whenever you want to replace the image or to not have the image be calculated when that skin is not active, you just have to disable the skin. That's it. So we have added the bone to a skin. I'm going to be adding physics. Physics are super easy to use also in this case. We can choose new physics constraint, and I'm curious. Let's see what I just did. Because I parented it to that hair, I'm gonna be reparenting it somewhere else. It's also protesting. Of course it is protesting, because it is an album. Okay. And it's still protesting because this constraint is parented to a bone that it's in a skin, but the constraint itself is not in a skin. So we get a warning icon here. How do we fix this? Super simple, once again. We find Sinisha skin, press add to skin, and we select this constraint here. Now the constraint is in a skin too. And voila, already much better, but I wanted to reparent this. Okay, so let's parent it actually to maybe the face here. Yay! Now it's following all the animations so nicely, automatically. That is so convenient. Oh, he's always having crying ideas and things like that. Oh, it even got the little animation here. It's perfect. So this is another way that you can add things and have them basically automatically animated for you. If you already have animated the rest and you just want it to dingle dangle around, okay, look at that. It's perfect. I don't have to do anything. I'm so happy. Then I wanted to show you yet another thing, which is, what if I want this light bulb to be in a different position? But like, I want, like, what I have is fine. I just want it to be different in some skins. Okay, so let's say that I want to have an alternative version of these. I called it like this. I want to reuse the same bone and have it in a slightly different position. Okay, my go-to method to reposition things. So this is like the easy version of repositioning this. Maybe it's not the most logical one when we have only one thing. We could have just a separate bone, but maybe we don't want to reanimate that bone. We are in setup mode. This is important. New bone. Okay, this bone is gonna be the bone that receives all of my constraint shenanigans to reposition things inside skins. In the past, I used to use directly the root to do this, but then as soon as you needed to flip the root, resize it, or do whatever to that, it would affect these constraints that I use to reposition things a lot, so I don't advise that anymore, and I instead recommend to use this skin target. That's what I call this bone, and I'm gonna use it, as you may guess from the name, as the target for my skins. So what are we going to do with it? I'll select here this bone, and I'm gonna be using another constraint, the transform constraint, that follows the lamp and targets my skin target. Okay, I'll call it something more descriptive than skin target because I'm gonna be reusing it a lot. So this one I'll be calling lamp other position. Okay, for this to work, I need to check local and relative. I'm not gonna go in detail about why it works like this, because I tend to explain it in real depth inside workshops, but for now, let's just remember that these are the settings that you need to check so that you can still animate this and move it around, but still reposition it. Okay, second thing that we need to make it work is to link the sliders and turn the constraint on so we can see a difference. So to 100, not 101, not 99, 100, so that we get it to work properly. Okay, at this point, if we play with the offsets here, we can reposition this fantastic idea, wherever we want. Okay, maybe now he's having an idea, and this idea is always placed here. And voila. Okay, to finalize this, so it's only active when we have the awesome idea situation. I could also make it bigger, okay, like this. So he has a bigger idea in this case. Okay, that's what it could be happening. And I'm gonna be adding, as the very last step, this constraint to the skin. So I select Sinisha awesome idea skin, lamp other position, and add to skin. Perfect. Now when I go here, I have this animation already working, etc. Yeah, he's having a bigger idea. And then, when I activate this other awesome idea, okay, he gets in the other position. I want to make sure of a thing. Love. Should have a leave laugh love so I can have the like trifecta. Okay, let's see. Oh, he's having multiple ideas in this case. I was worried that because I have like these constraints, I don't have many constraints. I thought it might have a wrong way of being applied. Let's see. In case your constraints suddenly don't work as they should anymore, you can reset their position by going back to setup, selecting the constraints node, and then clicking on reset. Okay, so it's all fine according to it. So then that's perfect. I would have probably anticipated the repositioning here, okay, to make sure that it is there and then applied the other one. But it looks like it's okay. For the last thing for today, I'm gonna be showing you how to change the proportions of your characters always using these methods. So this was like step 1. Now we're gonna be doing something slightly different, which is to create a new skin that is gonna be a tall version. Because there is another thing that we can do, which is combine multiple skins inside Spine. For these, I'm gonna be demonstrating this on a different project temporarily and then go back to this. Okay, let's click on the little envelope, examples tab, and let's open the mix and match project. Okay, this one is your secret dress up game inside Spine. We can play dress up when we click on views, open the skins view, and then we have several examples here that we can just click on to see the different things. Beautiful. We can start from a skin base, okay, and we have the various options here that we can select. So I'm gonna select these, maybe this, maybe this, then these. Okay, that's a fashion statement. Where is the nose? Oh, there it is. It was one. Okay, long nose. Perfect. And so as you see, we can switch from one version of these to another very quickly. Let's also pin this. Okay, we can play dress up. What did I want to show you is the fact that we can pin these several skins and they act as a visualizer, a method of visualizing the other skins at the same time inside Spine, but it's not like you can edit these. So for example, right now the ice violet skin is the one that is active. So if I try to click on an image, okay, maybe I'm here, you see that the images here are all empty. What has happened? Okay, there is no, actually, because I have Sorum's view, okay, show all skin attachments, I see them populated. Okay, like this is what you'd actually see normally. And they are empty. For example, I can see a neck, but it's not visible. What has happened? It has happened that I can only click and select on the images that are actually active, because when I unpin everything, what I'm gonna be seeing is only the violet eyes. This is what is actually active here. And so when I switch from one thing to another, okay, these are the images that are actually active. So when we pin multiple skins, we are kind of previewing them, but we cannot select or click them. Okay, so we have seen that we can pin multiple skins at the same time and they give us this result. It's very funny, it's great to check that our animations are working as we intend them. Let's go back to the other project that I was working on and let's create one of those skins that has nothing in it except for the constraints that I want to create the variation. So for this, I'm gonna be pinning, I want to be taller, so I'm gonna be pinning this version of myself that is tiny at the moment, and I'm gonna make myself very tall. How do we make a character very tall? We need to think. So if I were to, for example, move this up and then resize the arms and the legs and maybe the torso, I don't know, then my character would be taller. So I'm gonna be doing that. I select the hips instead of doing it manually as I was doing, which is savage. It's not the way you should do that. You instead select the bone in question, choose new transform constraint, and we go and find our skin target to create a new hips tall constraint. Okay, remember, always check local and relative, turn these on, and then we can translate this so it's taller. Okay, if you hit the limit here, you can just go over by clicking on the slider, or maybe I just input whatever I want. Okay, 200, very tall. Chibi who? It's gonna be chibi tall. Okay, so now I'm very tall, which is super, but I'm kind of floating. I want to be like a bit more anchored to the ground. So to do that, I need a second constraint to resize these parts. By the way, this is all in a blog post that I did ages ago, so you can follow that too if you like to have written instructions. For these, I'm gonna be selecting the arms, here the legs, and the other arms. I need 8 of these. It's basically the same as that tutorial there. I'm gonna be choosing new transform constraint, and then I'll pick the skin target. Okay, I'll call these limbs tool, check local, check relative, turn these on, and then I'm gonna be changing the scale. Okay, now if they're doing these, it's probably because I need at first to have the hips and then the limbs. Okay, so now they are in the correct order, and afterwards the IK constraints are applied. So it's always a matter of constraints order. You see, they were broken, they weren't working anymore. It was because first the IK was calculated and then we resize things. With this, it's gonna work a little bit better. I have my limbs that I want to resize. I'm gonna find, okay, the moment right before they start to bend. Okay, that's gonna be it. 66, I like that. So now I am a tall version of myself, very satisfying. However, right now what happens is that every character receives this super thing, and I'm not happy about that. Every character is tall, I want to be the only one to be this tall. So how do I get this to actually only work when the tall skin is active? Once again, super simple, we just make sure that the tall skin, and I'm clicking add to skin, and then I'll be selecting from the constraints node hips tall and limbs tall. Alright, now they are confined inside the skin, so everyone is tiny again. Beautiful. We'll be selecting, okay, to get them to be tall, I'll pin the tall skin so I can combine 2 skins together, and voila, now they are a tall version. I am very tall, Harry is very tall, Luke is very tall, but as soon as I take the tallness out, they are tiny again. Then there is another problem that may arise, so I'm gonna show you this tragic, very tragic thing. Okay, there's various animations, so what usually happens is that after you modify your character, you're gonna check for the animations that you already did and see if every one of these is working. So far, good. But look as soon as I go to the dead version of these. Okay, when my character is not in a very tall situation, let's make it not tall. Okay, usually it's standing on the ground. What did I parent this to that it's not? Oh, the body. Okay, let me fix this. It needs to be parented to the head, not the body. Okay, so when my character is agonizing on the ground, it should be on the ground. So the fact that it's tall gets it to be wrong because the hips are elevated from the ground. So what happens in this case? We need to create a variation for this animation. So this is another very easy fix that we can do. Okay, let me pin actually this skin. So what do we do in these cases where the fact that we did this kind of change is breaking my animation? We act on the constraint again. Also, I read you, Giuliano, thank you. So we have to go find the hips here and fix these. So it's fantastic because we don't have to have a constraint that reposition parts active or at 100% at all times for it to work. In fact, I can just go at the beginning of this animation where I see that it's broken and get it to be on the ground again. Voila! Now it's much better. Okay, see, agonizing on the ground. What if maybe the limbs are too tall because the legs are positioned in a weird way? I'll make the limbs also less long. Okay, they could go back here. Look at how they are shrinking. Okay, until they are not doing this anymore. So it's still very tall, but it's like in perspective. Okay, let's go find a different... Okay, the dramatic stare. I love this animation. My tall idealized self is like floating on the ground, and it's not conveying the drama of this animation. It's like terrible. I need to also fix this position here. Once again, I go on frame 0. I just turn it off. It doesn't need to be completely, because you see, when it's at 0, it's not good looking. I wanted to make contact with the ground like this. Okay, something like this should be fine. And that's it. So as you see, I just find an in-between that looks right. highlight during the animation. I may even animate this if it's necessary. Like, for example, I could have it do this mid-animation. Now, of course, it's not necessary, but I could do this. Okay, and then let's go on checking. Okay, that's my excited animation, fawning animation, flashed, that's me embarrassed for being so tall. Then, hooray, having an idea, laughing with those tall limbs, shrugging. Oh, that's sulking. Sulking is another one that is supposed to be on the ground like this. This is so cursed. So you can combine skins also like this. Let's never do that. Okay, sulking is supposed to look like this. Now, this sulking is no good. So once again, I'll go on the tall version here, get it to stay more on the ground once again until it looks good. So it could be like this, or maybe I decided it's like this, and okay, resize the limbs until it's covered again. So tall version is like this, small version like this, because it's crunching, it makes sense. Okay, and we just do this for every animation. I need it to be tall. Okay, thinking, tongue out, and it works surprisingly well. Okay, I'm gonna be saving this again. Alright, so as you see, this covers pretty much all there is to know about skins. We have seen skin bones, skin constraints, how to add something to every skin, how to add a recolor. Remember, for the recolor it's important that the pieces have the same sizes, and then it's gonna work. And how to create a skin from scratch. This should cover skin basics. If you still have questions, feel free to ask them in comments. In any case, I'll be bringing to you a project that has the various skins of very different kinds, so we see the whole process of creation of skins, rigging, applying more of these skin bones, etc. Also on a full project. We'll be continuing with the skin discourse in other streams, so if you want to see the full process, there will be the full process, including the PSD, naming, etc. And I wanted to give you the basics for skins and have an overview at least in one stream. So there you have it. Thank you so much for following the stream and the video recording if you're watching that until now. I will see you again next Tuesday, and yeah, thank you. Bye bye.